This is the angriest the Goblin King has ever been. Humans attack the fairies for their treasures. Logically, living in this forest together, the hero would definitely help. But the fairies look down their noses. They despise the ugly goblin race. This made the hero lose his temper. He used his golden eye to paralyze their leader. He seized the enemy leader and pulled out a legendary weapon. It was just a moment. Endless red spears appeared around. They captured the hidden fairy clan, but the protagonist was merciful. He did not resort to violence against the races living in the forest. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. The fairy clan came looking for trouble again. This time, they were well prepared and full of confidence. They demanded the protagonist come out immediately, but the protagonist could no longer endure. Unleash the king's roar. It instantly immobilized them. Then he bound them all with spider silk. Next, he interrogated them on why they dared to come. It turned out that last time they were defeated shamefully by the protagonist. The fairy leader lost face among her kind. However, the fairy girls wanted to persuade their leader. Not only did they fail, but they were also forced to fight. At this point, the protagonist no longer intended to spare anyone. He directly wiped out the fairy tribe and ate them, and gained the deeply connected residents, spirit messenger, insights on archery, tracking skills, and invisibility. However, these fairy girls, the main character, did not kill them. Instead, he left them a way out, but they must stay with the goblin tribe, and at this moment, the oldest goblin grandpa approached trembling. Because of so many gorgeous girls, Goblin Grandpa couldn't control his thoughts anymore. But the main character grabbed his beard, telling him not to act recklessly. Goblin Grandpa was clever enough to understand. He knew the village leader was the main character, and he had to set an example for the young goblins. But the next second, Goblin Grandpa couldn't fight his thoughts. After all, he had endured for so long. If you don't release it soon, you'll suffocate before aging. Then I'll give you one. The next day, the male lead hunted a blue slime deep in the forest. After consuming its essence, he gained resistance to powerless attacks, self-replication, and liquid restoration. Most importantly, he acquired a cloning skill. We can also share our perspectives. So the protagonist infused his blood clone into the girl's clothing to ensure their safety. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Gob Guy leveled up after defeating a monster. His level jumped to 100. However, when he returned to the village, he underwent a drastic transformation. He was even taller than the big demon protagonist. It turned out he evolved into a sub-demon. I feel full of energy. Ever since the protagonist became a great demon, he has been troubled. This time, he finally feels confident to challenge him, so they had a friendly match outside. This time, Gabuji can fight the protagonist, but unfortunately, he lost in fighting skills. Meanwhile, the protagonist was fast asleep. When he entered a dream, a mysterious figure approaches. Before the protagonist can figure out who it is, the stranger grants him an unknown bond ability. In the blink of an eye, 51 days have passed. Due to Goblin's influence, 4 more ghosts appeared in the clan. After a test by the alchemist girl, one goblin shows potential as a wizard. Another has the potential to be a monk. His abilities can heal the sick. The Goblin Star has evolved into a half-magic demon. When he took the protagonist out to showcase his abilities, that terrifying magic burned down most of the forest. However, this is just a step above the mid-demon rank. This means that when he evolves into a great demon, he'll be even more powerful. And therefore, those in his clan who haven't evolved yet started training tirelessly to become stronger. Yet the older generation of goblins couldn't stand by. Just when the protagonist returned from hunting, they saw the elder goblins waiting for them. Because these people have had enough. They are desperately trying to find ways to grow stronger. But they were still surpassed by the younger goblins of their kind. What they couldn't accept the most was not even getting a single chance. So they decided to leave the village. And the protagonist readily agreed. After all, their own kind wouldn't mistreat them. The protagonist dripped his blood onto the small knife. He crafted a sharp weapon as a parting gift for them. By the next day, the protagonist was wandering in the forest. He discovered a half-orc killing a humanid. It was clear that the human was already dead. So the protagonist struck unexpectedly for a lethal blow. He sensed that this human had special abilities. After consuming him, he gained the ability to raise monsters. This ability was incredibly powerful. He could apply it to any monster. This would turn the monster into his pet. So the protagonist began to hunt various powerful monsters in the forest, tame them all as pets, to protect the clan. But that day, the protagonist found a surprise. As a trainee warrior, the red-haired girl. She thought she would always be weak. Unexpectedly, he can now defeat 3 dog-headed men in a row. The key point is, when he took a bite of meat, she gained the skill of a magical food warrior. This skill awakens as long as she continues to eat magical creatures. Then you can become infinitely stronger. But on that day, the monk goblin reported to the protagonist, "Humans attacked the goblins." The protagonist realized the war had begun. So while he was asleep, he heard the dog-headed men fleeing in panic. They were running towards the goblin village. Seeing this, the protagonist quickly gathered his people to prepare for battle. It turned out the pursuers were undead skeletons. Just as the goblin team shot their arrows, it was completely useless. Even close combat weapons didn't help, and their numbers kept increasing. The protagonist noticed a strong signal behind the skeletons. That might be the one who created them. Unexpectedly, Goblin Jiang defended against an attack with his body and instantly took down the enemy. Seeing this situation, the protagonist ordered everyone to engage in hand-to-hand combat. These skeletons also help the clan gain experience faster. When everyone is exhausted, the main character is ready to act. I'm here to end this. Everyone step back. It should take about 10 seconds. Four, 5, 6, 3 seconds faster than I expected. It's so noisy. Create lower-level undead creatures, higher-level equipment manifests, magic absorption, reduce damage from lower-level spells. At this moment, the goblin kneels before the protagonist. They accidentally dug up buried treasure, but it also awakened the skeleton army inside. They came to the goblin village to escape pursuit. The rescued ones immediately treated the protagonist as their master. Now it's time to fight against humanity.